Keith, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm just happy that we were able to corral you again and get another 10, 15 minutes of your time. Um, so can you tell everybody out there what you do for a living, where you work, and why we're talking to you today?
I do. So I work for Velosio as the cloud services leader, and what that really means is I lead kind of any and everything as it relates to Azure and all the services available in Azure. What we would call modern workplace or productivity. So O365 licensing. And then we have a pretty big portfolio of managed services that we offer. So I lead the teams that manage and design and implement all of those solutions for our clients.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've been involved, gosh, for years, decades now almost, in terms of digital transformation for clients. I've seen things progress all the way from what was called application service provider probably 15 years ago, where what we would
hmm
consider today simple hosting, all the way through more advanced digital transformation, application refactoring, and things like that over the years now.
Well, then you are in the perfect spot because what we want to talk about today is that kind of change. I mean, if you look back at 2020, 2020 was a year of profound change on many levels, but certainly in the ways of digital technologies in the cloud and digital transformation. What we're already seeing is that large enterprises, the cloud spending is up 60% over 2018, and that's according to Gartner. So we know people are moving that direction, but you've seen firsthand some of the changes that have happened as a result of crazy 2020. We want
Yeah.
to talk to you about that today. What's one of the biggest changes you've seen based on 2020?
Yeah, I think in general, one of the biggest changes has been the acceleration of the move to digital or of the move to cloud, particularly in remote workforce, right? So if you look back, almost overnight, businesses had to transform to some type of remote workforce or to be able to support a remote workforce. And what I think has really happened was an acceleration of that. I don't think there was any doubt on roadmaps that a lot of businesses would have had that cloud, that digital, even remote workforce was probably somewhere on that roadmap. But this almost forced it into a 12 month acceleration for them, and we're definitely seeing a lot of that adoption today. So I think that's around kind of the technology side of things. The other side that we're starting to see are businesses really transforming their business and using technology to help do that. Bill and you and I were talking a little bit ago, but things like contactless payment. So that's a customer driven requirement that I think is going to be big in 2021, for example. So I don't love the idea of touching the pen or touching the screen to sign after I pay for something, using a credit card, whereas contactless payment with phone has been around for a long time. But things like that might seem little, I think we're going to see a big acceleration of in the very near future. So, really making sure that the foundation is laid, that businesses are thinking of those kinds of things, what I like to call kind of reading the tea leaves on what customers are going to want, and making sure that the technology foundation has been laid, and a lot of that can be done in the cloud to enable things like that for clients as they go forward.
What do you mean though? So I know that companies can do contactless payments using their Amex or their iPhone. So I don't think you're talking about building that part of the technology. What are you talking about?
Right. No, that part of the technology is already built, for example. But to be able to do that, you've got to probably have some kind of presence in the cloud to be able to allow customers to connect in or your stores to connect in from anywhere. That's
Okay.
You're now processing credit cards to some degree or somebody else's. So you've got to make sure all the security's been laid to be able to do that. I mean, there's a lot of other factors that go into doing it. And right now is the time that we're seeing clients take that very seriously and saying, hey, we got to close some gaps to make sure we've got ultimate flexibility given the climate we're in today, or if something like this would happen again in the future. So, we've got examples for, where clients, they had a really big on-prem, I would call probably legacy infrastructure, not just servers, but the network, the bandwidth, some of the security. And as soon as the pandemic hit and everybody had to go to remote, it simply wouldn't support all their users connecting in remotely. So they had to quickly do some basic things like lifting and shifting their application into Azure. They had to upgrade some of their network components, add more bandwidth into their facilities, and things like that to be able to be ready. Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about that need to be done now, and that clients are definitely accelerating.
Wow. So I know you deliver a lot of those services. You mentioned lift and shift and some of these other things. What about from a consultant? Like, how does a company know what's got to go right now versus what doesn't?
Yeah.
Is that something you help them with?
It is. It is. There's several different methodologies you can follow to do that. One popular one is understanding the applications and processes to run your business. And when you look at the applications, you kind of look at them in two ways. One, these are business differentiating applications for my business. They're important to me. They're near and dear to me. I want to somewhat keep these in house, and I want to know how they work. And these are typically applications that move to the cloud that you want control of. So maybe they're custom written applications, maybe they're legacy applications, maybe you just want to take them to the cloud and modernize them, but they're applications that differentiate your business that you want to have control of. Then there's another pocket of applications that are, what I would call non-business differentiating, meaning maybe it's your ERP system, right? So that's a great opportunity to maybe move that into SaaS, for example. Take the management of that infrastructure off your plate. There's options like Business Central or F&O or whatever to move to SaaS, and then you're just more of a user of that system. So that's one way to really start kind of that evaluation process.
Okay.
And then from there, once you know what you need to run your business, we can help you tease out maybe, because typically nobody does it all at once, right? So which applications should we start moving or looking at going to SaaS? Which applications maybe make sense to start moving into Azure and leveraging some of the different capabilities inside of there. So it is a little bit of a snowflake process for every client, because every client is different, but there are methodologies that we have that we can help you work through priorities and what you should and shouldn't move and when.
That's great. Well, hey, you mentioned, your team within Velosio does a lot of the foundational work, right? Getting the cloud together and their networking and all these things. And I know there are other groups within Velosio that specialize in what you just mentioned, the ERP systems and the CRM, you kind of back office how you run your business.
Sure.
One of the things I'm seeing today is people are starting to talk about Zoom like like Kleenex is to tissue. Zoom is all of a sudden, that's the word for how we meet online. But articles I'm reading say that Microsoft Teams is killing it in this industry. Are you seeing a lot with Teams?
We are. So that's another great point I should have brought up in the acceleration phase. For sure, as clients have moved more remote, they are leveraging Teams. And a lot of that reason is, they were already paying for it because it is included with most of the O365 licensing that they already had. And it's highly integrated into all of O365 already. So whether it's OneDrive and SharePoint for file sharing, whether it's Outlook for email, it's all integrated out of the box in one place. And then they'll use it. It's a pretty simple process to enable telephony, so you can make and receive phone calls through it. Then they really have all the modern workplace tools that they need from home to run the business, as well as it's very secure. So I think all of that combined has really helped push clients and made them pretty excited really about using Teams.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about this before, but there's a lot of folks who are a little bit nervous about maybe moving to Teams or going all in on the cloud. And it's kind of like once you jump in the pool, you realize the water's not so bad, and before you know it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I assure you, it's not this big scary giant. It's something you can structure the pace of your move that fits you. I hate to say it, but everybody is going to the cloud in one form or another. And so it's just finding out what works for you, what capabilities you need to run your business, what problems you're facing as you run your business, making sure that, probably the biggest reason I'm seeing now is make sure you're set up for flexibility, because we don't know what the next next big event that's going to hit or impact the economy or the business is going to be. But I assure you that by being in the cloud, the capabilities will be there to give you that flexibility, whatever it is. I mean, we can't predict the future, but I can tell you that being on premise, on legacy hardware, probably not as secure as you want to be, is not the place to be, and is not going to give you that security and flexibility that you're going to want.
Right. So that having that agile, flexible, secure platform allows you to make quick changes and quick jumps, as opposed to it's a little bit of everywhere.
That's right. That's right. And even from a cost standpoint, you can implement that flexibility or adjust that flexibility purely on how much of it you consume, right? So, you can't do that on-prem. When you buy a server, you just invested in a piece of hardware, whether you use it or not, whether you use all of it or whether you use a little bit. Almost every capability in the cloud, it's pay as you go. So you're really just paying for what you're using, and maybe you need to burst during that flexible time for whatever reason. You pay for that period and you shrink it right back down. And these changes to do this are usually very unimpactful, right? Most users don't notice it. It happens with the flip of a switch. So we can help you figure all that out. We can help automate those things. So it's really just a matter of sitting down again, targeting those business differentiated applications and processes, and then really structuring what cloud would look like for them.
That's great. So hey, you sold me. I'm assuming you sold some other people on this on making some moves right now. Who do you work with? Is it Velosio is a pretty good sized company? Is it all big companies you work with? Is it all little companies? Who do you work with?
It runs the gamut. So it runs from small to mid to large. We cover virtually every one of our clients are in different industries in many cases. So we have industry expertise. We have breadth expertise, meaning, ERP, CRM, I think which most people know about, but then we've got this whole team of cloud experts that can help with all the other cloud stuff, including, again, we talk about modern workplace and remote connectivity and stuff like that. So we really, we can help virtually every business.
Okay. Well, Keith, once again, really glad to have you join us and spend some time. More topics to come, more weeks to come, and we'll see you then.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.